You're listening to the Matuta podcast, bringing you the latest insights into transformational business, coaching, ABM, automated marketing, and AI solutions.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Simon and this is the Matuta podcast. In today's episode, we're going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to do a full season roundup of everything we've learnt in season 2, pulling together the main ideas from every episode from the past few months. From next week, I'm going to shift the focus to do different ways how to use Notion to streamline business organisation for you and or your team. So if you've been listening along, think of this as a reset, a chance to connect the dots. And if you're brand new, this is the fast track, a single episode that gives you the themes, the lessons, and a handful of practical takeaways you can use. So we started with people and culture and moved through positioning and value, then into measurement, brand leadership, communications, AI, content, and finally, authority building on a budget. So the through line is pretty clear. Marketing is not a set of tactics. It's a system. It's a culture, clarity, consistency, plus the ability to measure what matters and adapt as you learn. Right, let's go episode by episode, and then I'll wrap it all up into a single set of principles you can carry forward. Okay, DEI. The first episode was about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and specifically the idea that DEI is not just a moral stance, it's a business driver. Now, DEI can get framed as a box-ticking exercise or something organizations do because they feel they ought to. But the argument here is that when it's done properly, it improves decision-making, increases innovation, and helps you build a culture where people can do their best work. And why does that matter for marketing? Well, because marketing is a team sport. You can't build a brand that people trust if the organization behind it is not healthy. You also can't build strong messages if everyone in the room thinks the same way, has the same background, and brings the same assumptions. There was also a bit more of a personal element in that episode. The point that was inclusion has to mean inclusion, even when it's uncomfortable. If you do want a genuinely inclusive culture, you can't decide in advance which voices count and which don't. The goal is not performative agreement, it's better thinking, better outcomes, and a workplace where people feel safe enough to contribute. And if you want a simple takeaway from that episode, it's this. DEI is not a slogan. It is operational. If you want the benefits, you have to build the habits, the processes, and the accountability. In practical terms, that looks like being explicit about what equity means in your context, in hiring, progression, pay, opportunity. Measuring representation and experience, not just counting heads. Training leaders to create psychological safety and listen to people properly. Treating it as a continuous improvement loop, not a campaign. So yes, it is values-led, but it's also commercially sensible because it makes organizations more resilient, more adaptable, and closer to the people they serve. Now, episode 2 introduced what I call the Mario marketing, and it's one of those metaphors that sticks. In Super Mario, the computer game, the fire flower is the power-up. But Mario doesn't want the flower because it's a flower. Mario wants what the flower does. The outcome is the point. And that was the marketing lesson. Too many businesses try to sell the flower, the features, the specifications, and the thing itself. But customers are buying the fire, the transformation, the problem solved, the new capability. This is basic. And it's also incredibly easy to forget when you're close to your product. So here comes the core question from that episode. When someone buys from you, what do they become? Not what do they get, what do they become? Do they become calmer because you removed uncertainty? Do they become faster because you removed friction? Do they become more confident because you gave them clarity? Do they become respected because you improved how they show up at work? If you can articulate that transformation, your messaging becomes sharper, your marketing becomes more human, your sales conversations become easier. And you can test this yourself with a simple exercise. Write down your top 5 features. Next to each one, write the benefit. Next to each benefit, write the outcome. Then rewrite your homepage and all your messaging using those outcomes. That's Mario marketing. Sell the fire. Right, episode 3, we got into measurement, and it's an essential theme for anyone doing marketing leadership, especially in a fractional context like myself. So if you're a fractional CMO or a business leader, you're stepping into a business that often wants results quickly. You've got limited time. You have limited attention from stakeholders, and you need to demonstrate the value that's credible. So in that episode, I laid out a practical approach. First, separate metrics into tiers. Foundational metrics, things like traffic, list size, reach, useful context, but not the headline. Performance metrics, so leads, conversion rates, pipeline velocity, the engine room stuff. Strategic metrics, about marketing attributed revenue, CLV, returning on marketing investment, and the numbers executives really care about. And second, you need attribution model that reflects reality. The point that was first touched and last touched are convenient, but can often be misleading. Multi-touch, whether time decay or position base, gets you closer to the truth. And third, dashboards are not just reporting, they're storytelling. A good dashboard leads with outcomes, includes comparison and context, and helps shape decisions. And finally, the real skill is communication. If it's just not enough to have data. You've got to translate it for different stakeholders, the CEO, the CFO, the sales lead, the board. The takeaway is that measurement is not admin, it's strategy. If you can measure well, you can identify the constraint in the funnel, you can prioritize effectively, you can build confidence internally, and you can protect investment in marketing. So episode 4 was broader. It was about the operating system of a fractional CMO. Fractional leadership works when you can do these 3 things at once. Diagnose quickly, deliver early wins, and build systems that outlast us. The episode talked about growth hacking, not as tricks, but as disciplined experimentation. The workflow was roughly do a rapid growth audit, find the biggest leaks and the biggest opportunities, then prioritize ruthlessly. You cannot fix everything at once. Then run fast experiments, learn, iterate, and bank the quick wins. Then build self-executing systems like calendars, playbooks, reporting rhythms. Then build capability inside the organization so they're stronger when you step away. It also introduced a practical prioritization method, ICE scoring, so impact, confidence, and ease. And if you want a single sentence from that episode, it's this: build systems, not dependencies. The goal is not for the businesses to rely on us forever, it's for the businesses to get better at marketing. So episode 5 pulled us into branding. Now, there's a persistent misunderstanding that the CMO is purely a demand generation person. A campaign's in, leads out. But the argument here is that the modern CMO is the architect and the guardian of the brand. Brand isn't the logo, it's not the colours. It's the total lived experience. What people believe about you, what they feel when they encounter you, what they say about you when you're not in the room. So, a CMO's brand work includes a brand audit of touch points and consistency, building a brand framework, purpose, positioning, personality, values, and promise, building a communication strategy that turns the framework into language and behavior, putting governance in place so that the brand does not fragment as the organization grows. The episode also makes a point about measurement. Brand is harder to measure than direct response, but you can still measure awareness, perception, consideration, preference, CLV, share of voice, and so on. If you are leading marketing, the question is not, do we have a brand? It's, is our brand intentional, coherent, and consistently delivered? In episode 6, it was a close cousin of episode 5, but with a sharper focus on communication strategy. The idea was that the CMO sits in a unique place, one foot inside the organization and one foot outside the organization. That makes the CMO the translator. We translate the company strategy into messaging that customers actually understand, the customer reality into insights that the organization can act upon, and marketing dynamics into strategic decisions. And the way that translation happens is through communications. The episode laid out 4 pillars for communication strategy: clarity of purpose, audience intimacy, narrative coherence, and channel orchestration. If these 4 are in place, you stop sounding random, you stop chasing every trend, and you become recognizable. And then it got practical about the mechanisms, the messaging frameworks, campaign architecture, stakeholder alignment, and measurement. A big warning in that episode was about strategic drift. It's incredibly easy to react your way out of positioning. The antidote is to keep running to the strategy and to ask, does this strengthen our narrative or dilute it? So episode 7 zoomed in onto AI, and it was deliberately practical. AI is not a replacement for marketing leadership, it's a force multiplier. The episode covered a bunch of ways AI can help: data analysis and insight, predictable forecasting, faster content ideation and first drafts, campaign optimization and bid management, personalization at scale, competitive intelligence and monitoring, customer service and chat, social listening. But most important bit is the human element. AI can do speed and scale, but humans do the judgment, the taste, the context, the ethics, the relationships. So the best way to think about AI is let it do the heavy lifting, then you do the thinking that matters. The practical implementation advice was good as well. Start with your biggest time drains. Start small, one workflow. Keep quality control. AI does make mistakes, and be transparent with clients. AI doesn't remove the need for strategy, it increases the reward for having one. Episode 8 brought us back to fundamentals, but with a modern constraint. Content is everywhere, and attention is scarce. So the question is not how do we make more content, it's how do we make the right content efficiently. The episode recommended a focused strategy built around content pillars, 3 to 5 themes that map out audience needs and business objectives. Then he pushed hard on repurposing, creating a content ecosystem rather than a single seat. One strong article can become a long article, several LinkedIn posts, an emails newsletter, a short video, a sales enablement snippet. That's how you get consistency without burnout. It also talked about content calendars, batching, flex slots for reactive moments, and simple measurement. And a key line from that episode was consistency beats perfection. In context, shipping matters, feedback matters, iteration matters. You can refine once you're in motion. And finally, episode 9 tied a lot together by focusing on authority. Authority is earned trust at scale, not just being known, it's being believed. And on a budget, authority is a smarter first play than raw awareness because authority creates a flywheel. When you have authority, sales cycles shorten, price conversations get easier, inbound improves, and referrals increase. This episode was practical about how to build it without spending like a big brand. Start with the positioning, a simple statement such as we help X achieve Y by doing Z. Then build a repeatable engine and be useful in public consistently. Use owned media, especially the website, email lists, podcasts, anything where you're in control of the relationship. And borrow credibility through partnerships, adjacent businesses, podcasts, guest spots, and communities. There's also a nice simple framework in there called the authority ladder. Say something useful, show how you did it, let others vouch for it, and repeat until it becomes reputation. And it closed with common mistakes, being generic, trying to look bigger than you really are, posting without a conversion path, and obsessing about tiny metrics too early. So what do all these episodes have in common? Well, healthy organizations market better. DEI wasn't a random opening topic. Culture shapes output. If your organization doesn't listen, it doesn't include. If people don't feel safe to contribute, you'll get bland work, slow decisions, and fragile teams. And your brand will feel it. The Mario marketing is a reminder that your product isn't the hero, your customer is. Your job is to communicate the transformation, not the ingredients. And if you can't measure it, it's easy for marketing to become a cost center. If you can measure it, you can manage it, improve it, and defend it. So the fractional playbook is basically systems thinking, audits, prioritization, experimentation, and self-executing processes. The brand is not what you say, it's what people experience. And the CMO's role is to make that coherent, consistent, and real. If strategy is what you choose to do and not do, communications is how those choices get understood. Clarity of purpose, audience intimacy, narrative coherence, channel orchestration. AI makes the basics cheaper and faster, which means the differentiator becomes taste, judgment, positioning, and human connection. Pillars, repurposing, calendars, and measurement. Let's remember that content is a system, not a scramble, and consistency beats perfection. And with authority, especially on a budget, win through usefulness and proof. Be useful in public, show your work, let others validate it, and repeat. So let's wrap up with a simple checklist you can use whether you're a founder, a marketing leader, or a fractional CMO like myself. Define the transformation. What's the fire you create for your customers? Clarify positioning. Who do you help? What outcome? And why you? Pick your metrics, 3 to 5 KPIs that map the real business outcomes. Build your dashboard and rhythm, weekly visibility, monthly decision making. Choose 3 to 5 content pillars, and these are themes you can stick with. Create one cornerstone piece of work every week or maybe every fortnight, and then repurpose it. And use AI to speed up the routine. Drafts, analysis, summarizing, testing. Collect proof continuously. Before, after, results, quotes. Build partnerships. Borrow trust. Create value together. And repeat. Authority is repetition plus usefulness. That's the full circle. Thanks for listening. And if you've been with me through the whole of season 2, I genuinely appreciate it. If you're new to here, you can go back and listen to each individual episode on whichever platform you want to and hit up the topics that you care about most. So that's it for today. And as I mentioned, as of next week, I'm going to do probably about a 10-part series about how Notion, a tool that I'm an ambassador of, and how Notion can help you and your organization become more organized and more fluent. Until then, keep transforming, keep marketing, keep pushing, and repeat.
Thanks for listening to the Matuta podcast, bringing you the latest insights into transformational business, coaching, ABM, automated marketing, and AI solutions. If you liked this episode, please like, rate, and share.